It's that simple. I mean, we absolutely can. First of all, it all starts with health. You have to have some luck, and you have to have health. If we can stay healthy, but we did get younger. We got the 27-year-old point guard. We got the 27-year-old Six-Man of the Year award in Trez. We got younger.
With Mark.
You know, we got Mark, who's a Defensive Player of the Year, and his IQ
is off the charts, as is LeBron's. Keyshawn J. Will Zubin brought to you by Shell. Get more time to listen to our show by going to Shell and getting 3 things done at once. First, fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program. Snack up to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell. That news on the contract broken by Woj, who will join us at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. All right, Key, resident Lakers fan, and obviously Jay. Woj there with the tweet on ESPN News if you're watching. Thoughts on repeating and thoughts on having AD back to the tune of 190.
You know, I disagree with LeBron James calling Dennis Schroeder a PG. LeBron James will be the point guard for this team. He led the league in assists, averaging 10 assists per game. He's the de facto point guard all the time. You want the ball in his hands. But Dennis Schroeder now is a guy who's 6 man of the year. He can score off the bench. He can score anywhere on the floor. You bring in another guy in Montrezl Harrell that gives you the same energy. They essentially stole him out of the same building that the Clippers live in. Mm-hmm. They stole him from the same building. And you surround them with shooters. I mean,
well, they're renting our building, by the way.
Until they
your building.
Yes, until they go to the they got them younger, they got them faster, and they're LeBron says health. I agree with him on health. They are light ahead of every other team right now in the Western Conference.
By the way, the Clippers going to the Lakers' old home of Inglewood. How about that?
ESPN came out with this the other day, which I thought was just baffling for my eyes to see. Per month, $3.57 million. Per month.
Per month.
Per day, $117,397. Per hour, $4,891. Per minute, $82. Per second, $1.36. I'm just saying, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's good money if you can get it.
I mean, it's what you gonna do, man? Greatest dude in the world in basketball.
And
name your price.
And I totally agree with you. Before we hear from LeBron on what the greatest achievement of his career would be, and believe it or not, it's actually not the rundown that Jay just gave, even though that's pretty darn amazing. I just want look the Sacramento Kings. I'm just throwing them out. I'm throwing them out because they have the longest NBA playoff drought going right now. Mm-hmm. You put LeBron on any of the 30 teams in the NBA, they're immediately a playoff contender. And if they have a pulse, they're going to probably at least win 50 games. So from that standpoint, at 2 years, 85, he's underpaid.
You missed two.
Go ahead.
You missed one thing, or better yet, 2 things. You talked about that, but it also increases the revenue for that organization.
TV deal, tickets when fans come back.
Everything. His value is, that's why I said, name your price. It's not, name your price. Guys like, from a Lakers organizational standpoint and being an LA guy, obviously, guys like Magic Johnson, he can get 5% of ownership for free because the value that he brought to the table for the Buss family. Here you go, man. You can have that. Kobe Bryant can get an extension at the end when everybody thought, why would you ever give him that? Well, that's Kobe damn Bryant.
We want to be in the business of Bryant.
Yes, and they want to be in the business of James. Even though he is still at the top of the game, it looks crazy that you would give a guy that at this age that type of money. But you got to factor in everything. It ain't just the championship trophies. It's the investment in the value that he brings to the table, from the rights to the merchandising to everything.
Instantly relevant.
And he turns 36 years old this month. His career earnings thus far, $435 million. So he will be an owner of an NBA team. Now, that's in Cleveland would own an NBA team. Trust and believe that.
How about that? He's always talked about being a mogul. There's nothing bigger than that.
He always thinks about his business. I mean, even the other day on the podcast, he was talking about he wanted to bring on Luka Doncic to be the first LeBron James shoe. Like he wanted that to do that internally within Nike before Michael Jordan got it. He's always thinking about his business and his properties that way.
It's a great point. Speaking of Michael, Michael had a couple sons that played basketball, and I can only imagine the pressure on these guys. And your dad is the GOAT, the greatest player to ever dribble a basketball. But his son Marcus and his son Jeffrey played. Most notably, they had a little bit of a stint UCF, transferred to Illinois, but obviously, the mantle that dad set, the bar that dad set, so difficult for both Marcus and Jeffrey, who have been successful in their lives, just not the way, obviously, their dad was on the court. LeBron James has a 16-year-old son you may have heard about named Bronny. He's a sophomore in high school, and this extension for LeBron, the 2 years, will get him to 2022, 2023, right around the time that Bronny would be eligible to join the NBA. LeBron was on the Uninterrupted podcast, which he has a financial stake in. Speaking of mogul, always got his hands in something, right? He is a businessman, as Jay-Z would say. You guys probably didn't think I knew that. But LeBron essentially weighing in and essentially saying about a year and a half ago that I don't care how many titles I win. I don't care if I go back to Cleveland and win one. I don't care if I win one with the Lakers, whatever. The best thing that could ever happen to me on a basketball court, no matter how many Larry O'Briens I hoist, would be this.
What was the greatest achievement of my life? If I'm on the same court as my son in the NBA, that will be number one in my lifetime as an NBA player.
Play together.
Or play against.
Jay, is this a possibility of happening?
He's LeBron James. He's arguably the greatest player to ever play the game, regardless of whether you have him 1, 2. I know Paul Pierce has him in just barely in the top 5, which is ludicrous, by the way. But still,
it is.
He's the greatest player in the game. So my thing is, Bronny James.
I know, but I'm just hearing it again.
Well, that's Paul Pierce. That's a whole different conversation. I don't want to go on a tangent. Let's get back here to what we were talking about. All I'm saying is Bronny James is in a position to go to a top-tier college. If he goes to a top-tier college and if he plays decently,
consider
he continues to develop, he'll being in the G League, being overseas. But this reality of business is all about relationships. It's all about relationships. You cannot tell me, now that could be with the Lakers or it could be with another organization, that a team would not draft Bronny James, granted he keeps developing, okay?
That's the key.
In order for him to potentially say, hey, maybe your dad would like to come here and play with you at the tail end of his career. That would do, and Key just talked about this, the incentivization. Is that even a word? I just made it up. I said it.
It is now.
It is now. For a team to do that, to say, come to my organization, increase the value of my organization, fill the seats with fans, and play with your son and live out your dream at the tail end. If the Lakers can't do that, some organization will take a chance on Bronny James to do that.
As long as he continues to develop, I mean, it's hard. Look, he's not a 6'7" freshman. You know what I'm saying? He's a smaller guard that's a freshman in high school that has some time to develop into his body. When you think about LiAngelo Ball 6 years ago was a itty-bitty dude.
You mean LaMelo?
I mean LaMelo.
Yeah.
LaMelo.
There's a lot of balls.
Yeah, it's a lot of them. He was a small. Now he's a 6'7.5", 6'8" guard. Mm-hmm. So as he continues to grow and get better at it, then yes, I'm an owner of the Sacramento Kings, for instance. Just use that team. I'm willing to sign LeBron James to help me build an infrastructure, fan base, whatever it is that we're looking for at that time. And if I draft his son and bring him on the team, that son, obviously, we're not just drafting a guy because he's walking down the street. He's got to have some ability to be able to play, right? And so you would think that LeBron James and his crew is making sure that his son is developing at that level where he'll be able to live that dream. I hope he
continues to develop. But Bronny James does not need to be 6'7" to be drafted. You can draft.
No, you don't need to be 6'7". I'm just saying, as you continue, because he's so young, how hard is it to evaluate somebody in the 9th grade?
No, I think he's a sophomore.
He's a sophomore. 10th grade.
10th grade.
Yep.
All I'm going to say, though, is let's say hypothetically, and this won't happen because obviously being around great players and having access to the resources and facilities, his game will continue to blossom, continue to develop. But let's say hypothetically his game doesn't develop and it stays the same. Maybe he just grows a couple inches. Maybe he's 6'3", 6'4". You're going to take a chance on him in the second round because of the opportunity. Because of the opportunity that LeBron James might come to your organization. I'm just saying if you're an owner or a GM, you're looking at this differently, especially if he doesn't develop in the second round, later in the second round. So many teams stash people in overseas for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, let him develop.
Yeah, you're telling me you wouldn't do that with Bronny James? for the opportunity to bring LeBron James to your organization to increase awareness. You talk about an injection or an infusion of energy with Russell Westbrook going